Iggy? I got a feeling we're not in the 21st century anymore. Nope, we're in the 1930s now, the time of sound and color.
Actually, the 1927 film The Jazz Singer was the first talkie film. And then in 1928, Lights of New York was the earliest film that had sound from beginning to end. Even during the Great Depression that lasted from 1929 to 1939, Hollywood was still able to release classic films. And I'm here to list my favorites. Jamaica Inn. Alfred Hitchcock was known as the master of suspense. This was one of his lesser-known films. It centers around a young woman who moves in with her aunt and uncle. The house is a headquarters of a gang of criminals.
Keep it quiet. You see, boys, we've got a visitor. Harry told us.
She's a neat piece from what I've seen of her.
The gang suspects that one of their members is a spy, and when they narrow it down to one person, they decide to hang him. The girl saves the man, and the two of them make a run for it. The man she saved turns out to be an undercover law enforcer.
Well, that's women for you. Save your life 1 minute, frightened for their own the next.
The two find out that the gang are responsible for shipwrecks and stealing previous cargoes. The best part of the film is the main character. She's brave, resourceful, and probably one of the earliest female heroes in film.
Now, what would your worship fancy? A choice coach over the cliffs? Or perhaps you'd sooner be caught by the tide with our friend Jem here on a nice, comfortable, cozy part of the beach.
It's not the greatest film that Hitchcock directed, but I say give it a watch. Bringing Up Baby. This is a romantic comedy about David, who works at a museum working with fossils and putting dinosaur bones together.
One must belong in the tail.
Nonsense. You tried it in the tail yesterday and it didn't fit.
Oh, yes, that's right. I did, didn't I?
He meets Susan, played by Katharine Hepburn. She's the complete opposite of him. She's carefree and quirky, while David is awkward and takes everything too seriously.
I was only trying to be nice.
The humor comes from these two interacting off each other. David trying to brush this crazy woman off while she's completely oblivious. She mistakes David as a zoologist and not a paleontologist, which means when Susan received a tamed leopard that she named Baby, she tricks David into accompanying her to take Baby to a farm. Baby takes a liking to David as fast as Susan does, and from there, it's an uncomfortable road trip.
What can I do? I want 30 pounds of sirloin steak, please.
There were delays during filming because the leading stars broke out to uncontrollable laughter.
I've lost my clothes.
But why are you wearing these clothes?
Because I just went gay all of a sudden.
And as a result, we end up enjoying the film too. Modern Times. One of the last silent films of the 30s. The tramp meets a woman, and together they struggle to find work and maintain employment while staying out of jail. We see the tramp working at a factory job, trying to keep up with the fast-paced machine. The comedy comes from the tramp getting fired from every job because he's too clumsy. The film is comedy, but it's also a commentary of the working class at the time, people struggling to find work during the Great Depression. And those who did manage to find employment, they had to work in tough conditions. What can I say? It's another great film by the great Charlie Chaplin. Freaks. After the success of a certain film, Todd Browning wanted to direct the scariest film. 1932 Freaks is about Hans, a little person who falls in love with Cleopatra. The two get married, but what Hans doesn't know is that Cleopatra and the Muscle Man are in cahoots, planning to murder Hans so they can get his fortune. The sideshow performers get wind of their plan and decide to get revenge. Todd Browning cast real sideshow performers,
Gooba gobble, gooba gobble.
We accept her, we accept.
One female audience member tried to sue the director, claiming that the film caused her miscarriage. With a title like Freaks, it was also seen as offensive. What people may not know is that Todd Browning was actually good friends with Harry Earls, the little person who plays Hans. The villains here are Cleopatra and the muscle man Hercules. People who are born with conditions, they're still human beings, and they just want to be treated with dignity. But I guess audience from the 1930s were just not ready for this kind of film. On a side note, my favorite character had to be this guy.
She's gonna stay right here.
No, she isn't. I gotta go.
Oh, boy. You're always using that for an excuse, for an alibi.
The first half of the movie is like a drama. It's only until the third act that it becomes a horror movie. Something about the sideshow performers crawling in the rain, about to act on their revenge, and with no music, just ups the horror. The Invisible Man. Based on the novel with the same title by H.G. Wells, The Invisible Man is about a scientist who invents a serum that can turn him invisible. He struggles to find a cure to make him visible again. The longer he remains invisible, he starts to enjoy the benefits, starting off with harmless pranks and then committing murder. Being invisible is something we all felt at one point. But what if you had the ability to turn invisible whenever you wanted? Think about it. You can pretty much do whatever you want.
You're crazy to know who I am, aren't you? All right, I'll show you.
The effects by John P. Fulton were very impressive at the time. The Invisible Man was part of the Universal Monsters, and was the most comedic of them. The film was followed by the sequel, The Invisible Man Returns, starring Vincent Price, and then it was followed by other sequels that went for more drama than horror. If you haven't seen The Invisible Man, I say give it a watch. You won't believe your eyes.
Here we go gathering nuts in May on a cold and frosty morning. Whoops!
The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is a classic that everyone basically grew up watching, no matter what year you were born. It may come as a surprise that this movie came out in the 1930s, being that there was color, and it was a musical. We all know the story, the characters, and the famous line, "There's no place like home." But in case there are some of you that haven't seen it, let's do a quick summary. The story is about Dorothy Gale and her dog Toto living a quiet life on the farm with her aunt and uncle. Judy Garland plays Dorothy Gale in her most iconic role. When a tornado blows the entire house away, Dorothy and Toto land in the magical and colorful land of Oz.
Toto? I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
The house landed on the Wicked Witch of the East. Her sister, the Wicked Witch of the West, is angered with the death of her sister, and the powerful ruby slippers are now placed on Dorothy Gale. The good witch Glenda tells Dorothy if she wants to return home, she must follow the yellow brick road to the Emerald City and see the Great Wizard of Oz.
No, you see, I'm...
Along the way, she meets the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion.
Huh? Afraid, huh? How long can you stay fresh in that can?
Each of these characters wants something,
Why don't you come along with us? We're on our way to see the wizard now, to get him a heart.
And him a brain.
I'm sure he could give you some courage.
and end up tagging along with Dorothy. The Wicked Witch is a terrifying villain. And what if I told you that the lady who played the Wicked Witch was a kindergarten teacher? The Wizard of Oz has whimsical and silly moments to entertain kids. But it also has terrifying moments, like the flying monkeys. Why frighten young children? Well, Don Bluth once said that happy endings should be earned. It's not enough for a character to just want something. They must go through obstacles in order to grow. That's what engages people into the story and these characters. We want to see Dorothy Gale return home. The Wizard of Oz is a timeless classic. And as fun as it is to go on adventures, it's always nice to return to that familiar place where friends and family are. That place we call home. King Kong. Might be disappointed that it's not my number one pick, but I've only seen this film once, but honestly it's groundbreaking that I had to include it in my list. It's about a filmmaker, Khalid Demons, and his crew head to Skull Island to shoot a film. A tribe of natives of the island kidnap the crew's leading lady and, to sacrifice to Kong, a giant ape that the natives worship as a god. The island is also inhabited by prehistoric creatures. The crew go rescue Anne, and capturing the ape along the way. Carl brings the giant ape to New York City to make a fortune. But then Kong breaks free from his restraints and runs havoc around the city. The film has such an iconic climax scene in any movie. This was the film that inspired directors like Peter Jackson, who directed the 2005 remake. The sets were done all by hand. They used stop motion while creating new film techniques. It really sucks that King Kong didn't win any awards, since there was no award for special effects at the time. It's a classic film that should be seen by all movie lovers. Also, check out the 1933 sequel, Son of Kong. It may not be as groundbreaking as the first one, but it's still worth the watch. Frankenstein. Written by Mary Shelley, the story of a mad scientist who creates a monster. The film opens to Dr. Henry Frankenstein and his assistant Fritz at the cemetery digging up freshly graves to retrieve body parts. The young, ambitious Dr. Frankenstein sends Fritz to retrieve a human brain. He sneaks into a classroom that has two brains on display, one belonging to a normal, healthy person, and the other belonging to a criminal. Fritz accidentally damages the healthy brain, so he ends up taking the criminal brain to Dr. Frankenstein. Using electrical devices, his experiment comes to life. And then comes the most famous line.
It's alive!
People who aren't familiar with the story or the film often think the monster is called Frankenstein. But really, the monster is just called, well, the monster. Horror icon Boris Karloff is the one who plays the monster. The makeup effect of the monster was done by Jack Pierce, who did the makeup for The Mummy and The Wolfman. It's a film that has a strong message about the pros and cons of bringing life into something, and how one man's ambitions cause more harm, even if they had good intentions. Frankenstein is still celebrated, not just as a good horror film, but one of the best films ever. Bride of Frankenstein. 4 years after Frankenstein, Universal made its first sequel. The movie starts right after the first one, the villagers gathered around the burnt-down windmill, only the monster to reappear. Boris Karloff returns as the monster. Dr. Henry Frankenstein survives the burning windmill and visits his old laboratory. There, he's greeted by another doctor, Dr. Precarious, who wants to work with Dr. Frankenstein. But Dr. Frankenstein says no, and he just wants to forget about the events and live a normal life with his wife Elizabeth. The monster, meanwhile, wanders around. At one point, he's found by a blind man who teaches the monster how to speak.
To drink.
Drink.
The biggest reason why Bride of Frankenstein is more loved is because we get to spend more time with the monster. Boris Karloff gets to talk in this role.
Good.
It's touching to see that the monster can have the ability to trust and experience happiness. That's why it's so tragic when it's all taken away, and the monster has fallen back to anguish. Dr. Pretorius and the monster find each other and make a pact.
Oh, I thought I was alone. Good evening.
Dr. Pretorius instructs the monster to kidnap Elizabeth in exchange for Dr. Frankenstein to create a mate for the monster. Now, in the original book, Dr. Frankenstein does attempt to create a mate for the monster, but changes his mind and stops the experiment. This angers the monster, which results in the monster killing Dr. Frankenstein's wife. In the film, the monster bride comes to life. She only appears in the last 10 minutes of the film, and she doesn't get to do much, and yet she becomes a horror icon. I guess she must have left an impression.
We belong there.
Another horror masterpiece by Universal. Alright, on to number 1. Dracula. Out of all the Universal monsters, Dracula hands down is my favorite of the bunch. I just have a love for vampires. The 1931 was based on the famous novel by the same name by Bram Stoker. Count Dracula is played by a Hungarian actor, Bela Lugosi. From the moment we see him, we're entranced by his presence.
I am Dracula.
He had a thick Hungarian accent.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
And he has played Dracula before on Broadway in 1927. He started off as a stage performer and then made his way to film. The story is a bit different from the book. We see that instead of Jonathan Parker going to Transylvania, it's actually Renfield that goes to see Dracula, and the events that took place drove him insane.
Wise man.
Dracula arrives in London and is quickly known around the city. He sets his sights on Mima, and it's up to Van Helsing to stop the Count before he can take Mima away into the eternal night.
Or Wolfbane. More effective than Wolfbane, Count.
Indeed.
It follows the classic myths of vampires: sleeping in coffins, being afraid of crosses, drinking blood, and the fear of sunlight. Bela Lugosi would go on to play the Count once more in The Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein in 1948. Bela Lugosi could have gotten the role of a lifetime as the monster in Frankenstein, but he turned it down. However, he and Boris Karloff were in a few films together, notably the 1934 The Black Cat, The Raven, with a total of 8 films. Bela Lugosi would eventually play the monster in 1941's Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, but he will always be remembered as the Count. Even after his death in 1956, he was buried with the Dracula cape. That's how iconic he was. And those were my top 10 films from the 1930s. Let me know if you've seen any of these films. And if I missed any, or if you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments. Next video, we're jumping to the 40s. So in the meantime,
Stay classy.